Hey everyone, and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video, we will be talking about the Ohio Senate race and how a new poll from that state shows the incumbent Democrat Sherrod Brown up by 5% against the Republican Bernie Moreno in a very high-quality pollster from Marist College. So in this poll, the Senate Democrats did get a very good news because this is a very critical Senate race in 2024. The Democrats absolutely need to hang on to this race for any hope of keeping the majority. So in this poll, the incumbent Democrat Sherrod Brown in Ohio, a Trump state, I will mind you, leads 50% to 45% over Bernie Moreno. One-third of voters, I believe, said that they didn't know who Bernie Moreno was in this poll. So obviously, the Republicans have some major work to do, and this is the first really high-quality poll since March. The last high-quality poll was from the Florida Atlantic University, as well as with partnership with others, and it showed Brown up again on 11 points against Bernie Moreno. But since then, Moreno was actually nominated by the Republican Party. He wasn't even a nominee yet, so obviously we'll get a little bit closer with more name recognition and everything like that, hearing Bernie Moreno in the news and everything, finding out that he is the Republican nominee. So obviously that boosted him a bit, but he still has a lot of work to do. The Sherrod Brown campaign should be very happy with this result of a 5% margin. But I do have major doubts about this, and I don't think it'll play out on Election Day for a variety of reasons. But I still do think that Sherrod Brown will win on Election Day, and this, is another boost to the campaign that is going well. I mean, he is fundraising more, and he is spending more. He's spending more in ad reservations than Bernie Moreno currently. And he has a very, just overall, a stronger campaign than Bernie Moreno. Sherrod Brown has done this multiple times. Bernie Moreno is not a politician. He has never done this. And the campaign does seem to be a bit disorganized from what I have seen. But, again, this is very critical before we go any further for the control of the Senate. Because Democrats currently have 51 seats in the Senate. And in 2024, West Virginia is guaranteed to flip because Joe Manchin is retiring, and it's a safe Republican state. So the best the Democrats could hope for is retaining 50 seats, as well as winning the presidency, to get that tie-breaking vote. That is the very best that they can possibly do. Now, they could, easily get Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. They probably will. That puts them at 48 seats, And then it comes down to Montana and Ohio in order to get 50. They would have to win both. So Ohio matters so much. If Ohio goes red, then Republicans win an outright majority in the Senate, even without winning the presidency and having that vice president who cast the tie-breaking vote. So Sherrod Brown hanging on is extremely important for the narrow path to victory that Senate Democrats have, to retaining control of the Senate. But this is in line with what we have been seeing from this Senate race, because from this entire time, it has looked positive for the Democrats. It was a question. Even in 2022, I remember we were very positive that Jon Tester and Sherrod Brown would lose, and especially Sherrod Brown. I mean, he is a progressive. Jon Tester is no doubt more of a moderate, but Sherrod Brown runs progressive campaigns. He is a progressive. And remember, Ohio voted for Donald Trump by 8% in 2020. This is a Republican state. So seeing a Democrat lead by 5 in Ohio is big. And also, the fact of the matter is, the Republicans are putting up their, potentially the weakest candidate out of the three. There were three candidates, Frank LaRose, Bernie Moreno, Matt Dolan. And you see here from this polling, Matt Dolan was absolutely the strongest candidate of them all. And, LaRose and Moreno were just about in line. But it seriously does go overlooked how moderate still does mean more electable. Being too conservative for the likes of voters does still hurt in 2024, even in a state like Ohio, even though it is so strongly for Trump. And Trump endorsed Bernie Moreno, even though, Trump is way out there as well. And, Ohio voted for Barack Obama in 2012 and then flipped to Donald Trump. You would think that this, very far-right conservative appeal, very conservative appeal would help. But this polling proves just otherwise, how even in 2024, despite, this partisanship that we see in a state like Ohio getting more and more Republican, it still helps to be moderate. Moderate equals a better performance. You see that Matt Dolan, absolutely the more moderate candidate of the field, only lost by 4% in this poll to Sherrod Brown, and against Bernie Moreno, Bernie Moreno lost by 11 to Sherrod Brown. So, despite this being such a strong Trump state, it doesn't translate to other candidates. The kind of Trump appeal, it doesn't always translate. So, Republicans made a big mistake in this primary by nominating Bernie Moreno. I definitely think that he is the least electable. Even despite Frank LaRose losing the most to Sherrod Brown, I still think that Moreno would have been even weaker because he has such a lack of name recognition. He really does. This guy is a car salesman. He owns a car dealership. He is very unknown to the state of Ohio, to the voters of Ohio. While Sherrod Brown has, he was reelected in 2018 by almost 7 points. And looking at that Republican, Jim Renacci, I think that, the Republicans made a very similar mistake. He was a very weak candidate. The Republicans messed up big time in 2018. They nominated the wrong candidate. In West Virginia, Pat Morrissey was an awful candidate. Ohio, Jim Renacci, also an awful candidate. And someone like Matt Dolan would have been astoundingly more better performer than Jim Renacci. He would have done so much better than Jim Renacci. But Bernie Moreno and Jim Renacci, I don't see much differences when you look at them. They're both seen as way too conservative, for the state of Ohio. And, they're just not people who could get the suburbs on their sides. And, a lot of people like to talk about how Bernie Moreno could run up his numbers in the urban areas where Trump was able to do that, where they like Trump I said urban areas. I meant rural areas that are more populist and more conservative. It really doesn't make all that much of a difference. If a Republican is on the ballot for Senate under Trump, they're going to vote for that Republican despite it being Matt Dolan or Bernie Moreno. But where it does matter and why we're seeing such a difference in the polling between Matt Dolan and Bernie Moreno is the suburbs. The suburbs, around, you have urban areas. You've got Cincinnati, you've got Cleveland, you've got Columbus. Those suburbs around cities are critical in all swing states. I guess Ohio isn't a swing state, but it is in the Senate race. Those suburbs make the difference because those are very swingy voters. Suburban voters are very swingy. And being more of a moderate definitely helps. Being more conservative and, not known at all, very unknown by the voters, definitely doesn't help for Bernie Moreno there. And again, Jim Renacci had that same problem, but still, he won't run up his numbers in the rural areas, that's for sure, just because it doesn't always work like that. It's not as simple as that. And he will, just like Jim Renacci did, have a major loss in the suburbs. I think that Sherrod Brown, being the kind of candidate that he is, will be able to run up his numbers, not only in the urban areas, as Democrats always do, but around those suburbs. I think that Sherrod Brown is a perfect candidate for the suburbs. He is that kind of likable, work for the people type of politician. So, Ohio, definitely a critical state in 2024, but this is, more good news, and this is why I think that Sherrod Brown will hang on. The only thing that I have skepticism about when it comes to polling is the fact that they are polls, and people always tend to be more partisan when they actually go to vote on election day than polls indicate. It's a lot easier to say that you're voting for Trump in a poll, and in the same poll say that you're voting for Sherrod Brown when you're very unfamiliar with Bernie Moreno. But it's a lot more common to vote for Donald Trump on the presidential level, and then you say, you know what, we need a Republican Senate, I'm voting for Bernie Moreno on that ballot. It might not make sense, but time and time again, year after year, voters have proven that they like to do that. They don't like to split ticket vote anymore, and that is the problem that Sherrod Brown has to overcome. Ohio is a Republican state. I'm not really sure what polls showed, but yeah, when you look at polls from 2018, you see that Sherrod Brown in the final polls, in the November polls, was up by 10, by 14, by 10. He only won by 7. So they overestimated him a little bit in 2018, and it'll be interesting to see how this goes. So thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to comment down below and drop a like. It helps out a lot. Become a channel member if you're interested for exclusive channel perks and all that stuff like that. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.